my guilt state of corruption. I'm going to be sending you videos rapid fire of delivering evidence while I was in Washington to the Department of Justice, to the FBI, to certain senators and congressmen. We are putting them in a position where if they don't do anything and the walls are tumbling, they're going to be asked why. In the next couple of weeks, you're going to see a video and I break down a drug cartel from its distribution, from its protection, from its laundering, the businesses that it's owned. But this, President Trump, we're going to see a small clip, have said that members of the FBI and maybe higher, and Mr. Trump, President Trump, we both know it is higher. That's the deep state. Said they're guilty of treason.
The Constitution says treason is punishable by death. You've accused your adversaries of treason. Who specifically are you accusing of treason?
Well, I think a number of people, and I think what you look is that they have unsuccessfully tried to take down the wrong person. If you look at Comey, if you look at McCabe, if you look at probably people higher than that, if you look at Strzok, if you look at his lover, Lisa Page, his wonderful lover, the two lovers, they talked openly. You know, they didn't use their private server because they didn't want to get caught, so they used the government server.
Now, who's been telling you that the FBI are guilty of treason for years? Who's been telling you that the IRS is guilty of extortion and working with the deep state? Now, you know what the president says when he refers, again, you're going to see this small clip, to higher than the FBI? Well, what could be higher than the FBI? How about senators, as Senator Jeanne Shaheen, Senator Hassan, who are controlled and protect the largest drug cartel in this country? Now, what you've got to ask yourself, did you think President Trump doesn't understand the word treason? And the punishment for treason is death? You think that might have slipped his mind? They just tried to overthrow him. Now think about this. You gotta think logically. I mean, I became an extraordinarily wealthy man in two areas of business from thinking logically. I am the last conspiracy theorist. Really, I've got to see it, I've got to touch it, I've got to analyze it, which is how I got into this. So you think about this. He's calling it treason because he knows they're guilty of treason and they know who they are. And it is the deep state. And I've known who they are. And I put them out there. Bill Shaheen, Hillary Clinton. Now think about this, you ready? What could make these people of the deep state and the FBI put themselves in such jeopardy as treason? Why? You think it's politics? If you do, then wake the fuck up. It's protection. They were afraid if Trump came in, if they lose the power of containment and control and investigation, you'd find them. Right, you'd find their federal stealing. Why do you think, for instance, Senator Jeanne Shaheen is part of this deep state? I've told you for years, organization of corruption. They started calling it the deep state. I've been calling it out for years. What do? Federal stealing. Right, the other half of their business is they sell protection to pharmaceutical companies. Have you noticed they've been getting busted lately? Insurers who cheat you. Drug cartels, which now own hospitals and treatment centers and pharmacies. They sell protection. And that is what they're afraid of. And that's why they're guilty of treason. The FBI are in partners with them.
Big this is. This drug cartel has corrupted the state, as it has many other states. But I am telling you, they're in the hospitals, they're in the treatment centers. I have witnesses from the treatment centers. They're selling drugs out of the treatment centers. Yeah, and it is true. This computer has the going on between the people inside my company, Bill Shaheen and Alex Walker, to the point where they scheduled my death on that computer. Right. And you know who Bill Shaheen is? He's the husband of Jane Shaheen, the senator. That's the kind of pull we have. I ran for governor. They tried to murder me. No doubt about it. The guy who ran for senator was my campaign manager. He got leveraged by the drug dealers for $20 million, and he threw the race to get Hassan to win. All through. Listen, I've got 70, 80 witnesses. You pick it. But if you're sending me back to the same people who are corrupt.
That's why President Trump, he's slipping you clues. Even bigger than the FBI. And the FBI are guilty of treason. All right, now let's go on. Just so you know, I'm going to show you a clip. Just a small piece that President Trump refers to these individuals of the FBI. The same one that I was mailing this evidence to, as well as 4 U.S. attorneys that I have told you were guilty of treason. And then I'm going to show you the deep state. Jane Shaheen, Bill Shaheen. Who are they connected to? With Hillary Clinton. Bill Shaheen is the leading fundraiser in the country, was her campaign manager. You know what corruption buys you? Funds. That's the fundraising he's doing. You're going to see that the right-hand person to Clinton is in fact Shaheen. And there's others, but she's number one. They own 2 senators. Hassan's a puppet. You understand? There's their money, there's their protection, and that's what they're hiding. And why do you think Shaheen, Senator Jean Shaheen, keeps going after Trump, referring to the FBI? Was it actual spying or was it electronic surveillance? It was spying, and you're protecting your own ass. That's what's going on. Now think about it. I'm going to show you clips. You can't question that I've not only called the FBI corrupt, you've seen me go to their door. You'll see a clip in Bedford that I've been several times. The Bedford FBI, Agent Mark Hassenbacher, ran a criminal operation to destroy evidence and control witnesses and the people who work for me. Hello, is there anybody from the FBI here? We've got a light, folks. You don't actually believe nobody's behind that door, do you?
They're looking.
So is it, you're just listening? Well, if you are listening, I have a package that will help solve our heroin crisis in the state. It does say, wait a minute, Federal Bureau of Investigation. Department of Justice. Just checking. If it was anybody else, I think they might open the door. You're videotaping me? Listen, she comes back, you videotape her. So you know what the difference with this time? If you remember the last time, they were waiting for me. You know why they were waiting for me? Because they had moles in the company that were telling them I was coming here. See? We don't have any moles anymore. You know how I know? Because they didn't know. And that's why they won't open the door. Okay. This is Mike Gill, running for governor. I know you're in there. U.S. Attorney Kakavas, U.S. Attorney Farley. They work for the drug cartel, you assholes, and the deep state. They are one. This is an FBI operation. Kakavas turned around and let this Jonathan Irish off. He was charged with selling 9 automatic weapons to an undercover agent to steal evidence of my murder. Right, from a Brian Toomey on his computer. So you're gonna see me go to U.S. Attorney Lullen. Lullen is the U.S. Attorney in Massachusetts, Boston. You'll see me in front of his office with the evidence of this corruption, the settlement offer, the IRS on tape. You hear me and I deliver that evidence to him. And you'll see another photo of me going to Boston every time the FBI in Boston was waiting for me, because they had moles in my company. And there's no misunderstanding. I am giving that to the U.S. Attorney in Mass. They're only, Morris Mahoney's 300 yards that way, all right? Now what else we're giving them is the IRS, the Boston office, with Accountant Cohen from Boston, with Levine and Curtis Horley from Wilbur, okay? Where the IRS has been leveraging for my silence, for the same Shaheen, same Bill Shaheen, same Alex Walker. We have their mailings. There's no question. Special Agent Inside, Bonavolta. You've got this evidence. You're guilty of treason, and so isn't U.S. Attorney Lullen. This is a U.S. attorney who prosecutes cases for the FBI and an FBI. A partnership of corruption. You think that this just stays at the top? You're also going to see me with a handful of envelopes. These were envelopes that were receipts for evidence delivered to the Department of Justice. You're going to see it went to Comey and Sessions and Holder for years. Drug cartels, the deep state, the corruption in our courtrooms. They own and control it all. So this was be protected by the FBI and the Department of Justice, which is why I said they were guilty of treason. You see them covering up for the IRS. Hard, cold evidence of extortion. They are on that $50 million settlement agreement. You'll see me go to the IRS. You'll hear the tape of the IRS saying they have a mole in my company. The same mole, Brian Toomey, that's why Kakavas, the U.S. Attorney, ran that scam to get that evidence. Not only were they going to kill me, but they had Toomey on the computer with the FBI, with the IRS, with Bill Shaheen, the deep state. Today we're going to talk about the Department of Justice. Department of Justice. Justice? Well, let's see. I want to show you. We've got mail. Right here. Unopened. Right? From the Department of Justice. Because, you know, I've been sending them quite a few complaints lately. Right. But before I open them, you have Mr. Trump talking about the Department of Justice and the FBI covering up. Right. Let's start with see, now these complaints that I've mailed to the Department of Justice, let's open their response. Again, we're opening it together. You ready? So, this is to the IRS. All right, let's see. I believe, thank you for sending this information, and we'll look at it. Or will they? Let's take a look. Now, don't forget, the IRS, we only had Ken Campus, the Adjutant General of the IRS, you know, the top dog. We only caught him on tape. In fact, we'll play it for you just for a brief second.
Good times, Tim. This is going to be your case. I gotta call him, Chris, and I'm gonna tell him, like, we have a plant, we have an undercover here.
Right. So in other words, Department of Justice, you got that. That shows the absolute criminality in the IRS at the very highest level. And let's not forget, Tim Campus is on the phone with Tom Morley, who's only from Chitka, the criminal division of the IRS. All right, let's see. See, we're opening it together. Remember, Karnak said, and here we go, with the seal. Thank you for your letter, December 22nd. Wow, you're a little late getting back to us. Let me see. Your letter will be reviewed, and if a response and update is necessary, will be sent to you within 60 days. If you have any questions, please call us. Oh, there we go. Well, let's go on. The Department of Justice, you got one from banking, right? Your letter will be reviewed. Banking, right? Your letter will be reviewed. Well, let's see. Now, it's only about the drug laundering, right? It almost got my ass killed. And then I'm going to close again with the DEA and giving them evidence. And that evidence only turned into a tractor trailer load of fentanyl. President Trump, you said 350 pounds was the biggest bust in the history of the state. That bus was in the thousands of pounds. They called it several tons. Enough to kill everybody. It was an evidence dump that went out of these hospitals and treatment centers. This would get you the drug cartel, which would get you Bill Shaheen. Remember, New Hampshire is a drug den? Well, it's a distribution center of this country, which is why they're trying to move El Chapo to get prosecuted in New Hampshire. Because they know El Chapo knows fucking Aganos and Shaheen. That's how this works. So let's you get the FBI guilty of treason, which I've told everybody for years, including you when you were running it for the first election. I've told you the IRS and showed you all the evidence of extortion. I've exposed the deep state and means of tearing them down. From this evidence you get Shaheen. You know what they're all afraid of? And you can go to Message from the Cartel. Where one of the heads of the cartel internationally turns around and says it's even bigger than the FBI and Shaheen. In fact, the head of the cartel in New England, Dick Aganos, is petrified. You get to read it. That Shaheen's gonna turn them in, make a deal. Listen, they're all gonna make a deal. Do you remember how they broke down the mafia? Remember? Rudy Giuliani? You've done this before. Not to say that there ain't back, but this is the biggest mafia the world has ever known. You think all the drug corruption's over in Mexico? Wake up! This deep state gets you the corruption in each of our states. Gets you networks of corruption. Gets you pharmaceutical company, gets you an insurance company, gets you these drug cartels. What is destroying the fabric of this country is behind that door. And listen, the moves the president's making about bringing in A.G. Barr and opening this investigation tells me not only does he know the truth, the plan's afoot. And U.S. Attorney Durham, who once came from the Boston office, who dealt with them, you know, which is why they assigned you to investigate the FBI in this deep state. You are getting my evidence. I am talking to your office. I delivered the evidence to Washington in your care, as instructed. I am doing my part. Mike Gill, State of Corruption. Every day we're going to go out there and we're going to personally deliver it. Now, they have a copy. They've had a copy for a month. We haven't heard a word for them. So let's go in there, give them another copy, and ask them what's been going on.
Do me a favor, turn that camera off so we don't have a problem. I don't want to have Bedford PD come. Just let's talk first. I have no idea who you are.
Mike Gill, I'm running for governor.
Okay.
State of Corruption.
All right.
You know who I am.
No, actually I don't.
No, is it by law we have to shut this off?
No, I'm asking you as a gentleman.
No, I'm keeping it on as a gentleman.
All right.
All right?
I'm asking you to leave the property, okay? I don't know who you are.
Oh, here's the package. Here's the criminal package.
Okay.
Get the tape, Cole. This is the package about drug dealers that we sent you here.
Yep.
Here, come on, get these guys in here. Here's the package. You got it. Now, we mailed it. See that he gets it.
See, who gets it?
The DEA.
Okay.
Investigate. Look, you know what we have
Sir,
in here?
why are you raising your voice? I'm just talking to you like a gentleman. I'm trying to find out. You haven't even shown me an ID. I don't know who you are.
Well, Mike Hill, you know who I am.
Okay, actually, I don't.
You don't?
No, I've
You don't
never
know
met
about
you.
the state of corruption. You
I've
don't
never
know.
met
How
you.
about this? You know those big signs with the drug dealers on the signs?
No.
Wow, there's only 2 minutes from here. You're an
Okay.
investigator, right?
Okay.
Well, if you investigate those
have I told
signs,
you I was an investigator?
you didn't say you weren't.
No. Well, I'm just.
So you're not?
I'm just asking.
So
who
you are. Well, I'm asking who you are. What's your name?
My name is John.